With her life and career in chaos, a troubled actress is stuck under house arrest, so she plots her never-ending fame with her reclusive landlord's help. A despondent actress, Markey Marlowe, downs her drink before escaping the denigrating looks following her at a party. On the road the next day, Markey tells her childhood friend turned assistant Annie to take care of her social media accounts while she's gone. In disbelief of her priorities, Annie reminds the convicted woman that she would worry more about spending jail time than her jeopardized career. However, Markey remains indifferent about this. As the two reach their destination, Markey walks up the front porch of a duplex house barefoot wearing her ankle monitor. Annie assures her that only the attorneys and the landlord know she'll spend her probationary period there. When Markey questions her friend trusting a random landlord instead of her, Annie retorts that her faith was lost after the actress hid illicit substances and attacked her own mother. Showing no remorse for her offenses, Markey frowns at being left without someone to make her espresso. Because of the paparazzi, Annie says her next return might be after the probation. As Markey realizes she'll be left without internet or a cell phone, her assistant shows her an old TV in the bedroom to keep her entertained. Annie also points her friend to the previous owner's wardrobe which she could use, though this just torments the actress further. Before leaving, Annie reminds Markey not to open the door for anyone except for her and the court officials. The actress worries about the landlord, but her assistant dismisses her morbid jokes and tells her not to bother him unless for an emergency. The landlord also signed a confidentiality agreement, so Markey has nothing to worry about except staying within the property's fence. When Markey tears up, Annie embraces her, saying she can rebuild her tainted name after 30 days of house arrest. However, the actress fails to acknowledge her friend's optimism, making Annie tell her to grow up before storming off. Since Annie forgot to show her upstairs, Markey climbs the steps alone, but the locked door prevents her from exploring further. Later in bed, she watches an old documentary about the iconic star Marilyn Monroe, with whom she sympathizes with her struggle behind her fame. While freshening up for bed, Markey reminisces about her day earlier at court. Judge Kevin Ross acknowledged the Marlowes' long-strained and violent relationship. Due to this, he issued Markey a 30-day probation and a no-contact order from the plaintiffs, her mother Kara, and younger sister Jade. Unable to sleep, Markey positions the standing mirror towards her and returns to bed. Not long after, she dreams of climbing a mountain, masked partygoers, and a keyhole. When Markey is awakened by a noise upstairs, she sits straight and is surprised by the mirror facing her. The following morning, the convicted woman figures out how to operate the coffee maker in the kitchen. Seeing a calendar, she marks her first day in house arrest as she looks forward to her release. Then, Markey rummages through the luggage that Annie prepared in search of a bikini. When she finds none, she settles in her undergarments and grabs a book to read outside in the sun. Afterward, Markey finds that she accidentally locked herself out, so she knocks on the landlord's apartment next door to borrow his spare key. As the reclusive man Daryl opens the door for her, she asks him about the locked room upstairs since she heard noises last night. However, the landlord excuses it as rats and slams his door without sparing her a glance, though he secretly watches her through the peephole. While taking out the mini-figurines from the glass display, Markey accidentally drops and shatters one before hearing footsteps upstairs, but she still can't open the strange room. Despite her assistant's instructions about bothering the landlord, the stubborn actress knocks on Daryl's door the following day out of sheer boredom. The man advises her to watch TV without facing her, so Markey asks him to fix her remote. With no choice, Daryl tinkers with the device in the woman's room, which previously belonged to his late grandmother. He notices the old woman's figurines are out of their display case, so Markey explains that they help her sleep. She was used to having stuffed bears facing her as she slept and even tried watching herself doze through the mirror the other night. Daryl comments that the actress should have packed the bears herself, but she refuses to do her assistant's job. Irate, the landlord claims the remote batteries are dead and impatiently switches the TV on for her, commenting she's not helpless. The woman carelessly remarks about Daryl's grandmother, who takes offense at her words. Alone again, the actress plays with the figurines and skits her altercation with Kara, who claimed she was a bad influence on Jade. On the contrary, Markey stopped her sister from doing the wrong thing in the nightclub with her ex-boyfriend Nick, but her mother thought otherwise. Enraged, Markey breaks the figurine, cutting her hand. As she mindlessly lies in bed, she grabs a pair of scissors and cuts her inner thigh intentionally. Failing to stop the bleeding, the aggravated woman knocks on Daryl's door for help and barges inside. The agitated man searches for a medicine kit, leaving Markey to look around. Seconds later, Daryl tends to the actress' wound. Markey solemnly claims that people only care about money and not her, except for Annie, whom she needed to pay to be around her. Regardless of the woman's issues, Daryl finishes dressing the wound when she suddenly asks him to get her stuffed bears for her. Using her tendency to hurt herself, Markey begs him to do so but realizes he's a reclusive hermit. In denial, Daryl claims he's the one who arranged matters after his grandmother's passing. The actress says her grandmother gave her the teddy bears, sympathizing with the man's love for his old nanny. When the recluse opens up, Markey pleads with him to get her bears, hinting that he can matter to her the way he did to his grandmother. Not long after, Daryl leaves in the middle of the night to the actress' real house while Markey plays the kalimba in her apartment. He soon returns without the bears, claiming a guy ambushed him in the backyard. The landlord shows Markey the video of his encounter from his camera for proof. Despite being suspicious of why he carries a camera around, she recognizes Nick in the footage, wishing Daryl did more damage to her ex-boyfriend's face. Soon, Markey finds wigs in the old woman's closet, so she wears one as she displays the photographs from an old album by the mirror. She dresses up as her grandmother Addie and begins a monologue about the young actress's unfortunate dreams. Markey feels understood by her grandmother, who treated her like a star and realized her desire to be loved without an audience. Unfortunately, the caring old woman wasn't around to protect and guide the ambitious actress away from the life she ended up with. Suddenly, Markey hears Daryl knocking impatiently at her door, so she meets him outside wearing his grandmother's clothes. Having heard the conversations beyond their shared walls, the landlord explains that he will be blamed if the convicted actress violates her probation, so he ensures there's no one else in the house. Markey leads them inside to ease the man's worries, assuring him that she was just improvising an audience to her monologue since she couldn't sleep. Seeing his grandmother's photos in the mirror, Daryl becomes emotional and reminisces about the tragic accident of his parents. Soon, Markey finds the old woman's bottle of medicine in the bathroom, but she fights her urges. While sunbathing outside, she finds two discarded pig figurines in the backyard, naming them Eric and Christine. While bathing, Markey notices a camera planted among the pot of plants in the bathroom. Furious, the actress accuses Daryl of spying on her. The landlord hastily explains that he didn't have time to take them down, revealing there are cameras in every room. In disbelief, Markey threatens to break her ankle monitor to summon the police, but Daryl pleads with her to stop. Exposed, he leads her inside his apartment to show that the cameras aren't plugged in. When the actress remains doubtful, Daryl explains that he used to watch his frail grandmother secretly through the cameras so he could take care of her without her knowing. Then he reveals that she died in her bed where Markey sleeps. Distraught, the woman demands to see the footage of Daryl's grandmother. As Markey watches the recording, she remembers her grandma, wishing she also grew that old. Learning the landlord kept all his grandmother's videos, the actress suggests making a documentary out of it. Daryl insists he'd need to change the ending, but Markey argues that it's natural to die at the end. Unfortunately, the woman still refuses to let the landlord off the hook and tells him to earn her trust. In response, Daryl reveals he has a controversial clip of her which he never intends to expose. With the actress accustomed to being used for money, Markey tempts him to sell it since Nick sold an illicit video of them before. Then, Daryl grabs his CD collection from his organized shelf and reveals he took videos of celebrities to understand why they wanted attention so badly. Finding herself in his description, Markey watches his videos of her, thinking he's a paparazzi. However, Daryl denies this and claims he only shot the candid moments of celebrities instead of what the media wanted to show the public. The actress becomes increasingly uncomfortable as they watch the video of the night she attended a party. Hearing Markey's discomfort, Daryl insists on stopping the tape, but the actress braves her nerves. The video transitions to the woman walking in an alley to avoid the public eye. She explains that was when she learned Nick and her best friend had an affair for months. Upon seeing when Nick intercepted and took advantage of her in the video, the tearful actress asks why Daryl didn't call the police that time. The landlord returns her question, so she reasons that no one will believe her and the press will ultimately target her. Seeing the distressed actress' vulnerability, Daryl whips up his camera and captures her moment. He shows the clip to her, convincing her that her raw emotions are beautiful. Still, Markey believes she's pathetic and worthless while Daryl continues recording her. The recluse urges the seething actress to let her anger out and says she wants him to punch Nick's teeth, so she imagines the gruesome sight. Soon, as Markey spends her typical day in house arrest, she sees the old woman's medicine in the sink. Reminded of her tendency to harm herself, she returns the bottle to Daryl. She also asks him to film her more since it makes her feel better. Moments later, the recluse records Markey as she goes around his room. She accuses him of spying on the neighbors since he has a camera aimed at their window. The man denies it, saying he only watches people when they expect to be watched. Then, Markey asks Daryl to clean her wound, so he drops the camera flustered. Once the landlord leaves the room, the woman unlocks the door connected to her apartment, unaware that the camera catches her doing so. When the man returns and resumes recording her, Markey asks him to film something for her outside. That night, the actress catches the landlord sneaking up on her door, so he explains that he didn't want to get her hopes up regarding the favor she asked for. Regardless, Markey tells him to go to the rude bar to capture footage and finish his task. Once alone in the house, the woman sneaks into Daryl's room through the upstairs door she unlocked. She grabs the collection of his grandmother's footage and watches her last day. To her surprise, Markey sees how Daryl smothered the old woman with a pillow with her consent to end her misery. The actress then checks the man's necklace with a strange pendant before she leaves. Not long after, the landlord returns and checks on his recordings with Markey. He captured her former best friend Sydney, who shows no remorse for Markey's conviction. They hear Sydney mutter something incomprehensible but fail to understand it. While Markey rages, Daryl records her reaction as she wishes to rip out Sydney's hair. The following day, the actress wears red lipstick before sunbathing in the yard in a blonde wig, looking like Marilyn Monroe while trying to lure her landlord out. Meanwhile, Daryl watches Markey's footage from the other night until he learns that she unlocked the connecting door. Moments later, he joins the actress in the yard and tells her he found out what Sydney said in the video. Learning that her best friend wished someone to harm her in jail, Markey removes her costume in despair while Daryl films her. She despondently ponders how her family has abandoned her just like Sydney. There's even an online gambling site that takes bets on how she'll die, further cementing how no one cares about her. As Markey wishes the same for her former best friend, Daryl reminds her that she has already decided on the woman's fate. That night, the landlord follows Sydney into the rude bar and replaces a stick of powdered substance from their tray, which she later downs with her drink. Unbeknownst to the intoxicated Sydney, Daryl follows her home and reveals that he switched her substance earlier before the woman passed out. When he recorded her earlier, Markey said she wanted to go out big like Marilyn did, so the landlord vowed to help her. Soon, Daryl has Sydney tied to a chair, scolding her for trading her safety for fame by letting the paparazzi know everything she does. He films her and shows his clip where she wished for her friend's harm in front of the paparazzi. However, she only laughs at this, so Daryl shows her the video where Markey wished her hair to be ripped from her head. He does this literally while the woman screams. Recalling how he asked Markey how she'd like to go out, she pondered about an accident or ending herself but decided that people might still blame her. Daryl suggested dying at the hands of a stalker, which would paint her as an object of desire. This made Markey comment how everyone only loved her when she was pretending to be someone else. Soon, the landlord has plugged his surveillance cameras into Markey's house and watches her all day. In Daryl's film, the actress turned sinister when he asked what she'd do to her mother. Not long after, the landlord subdues Kara in her home and films her. Despite hearing that her eldest daughter sent him, the woman only asks about Jade. The man berates the woman for only caring about her daughters when it benefits her. This was why she only had Jade when Markey's career started falling apart, thus giving her a backup plan. Daryl then reveals the younger woman before Kara while a camera is strapped on her forehead. This is to record her mother's reaction as he harms Jade, which Markey wished to witness. While Markey rewatches the footage of Daryl's grandmother's death, the landlord returns and reveals he made her death look natural. As the actress compliments his work, she hopes the film he makes for her is as beautiful, so she asks him how he'll end her life. Soon, Markey sits by Daryl as he edits her film, telling him not to shoot her ending so people will wonder what happened. As the Marlowe's death is discovered, Annie calls the landlord to tell him she'll deliver the news personally. When the assistant arrives, she's surprised to see a broken figurine on the bed and the photographs in the mirror. Hearing footsteps upstairs, Annie calls out for Markey, but the actress knocks her out. Moments later, Annie wakes up restrained while a dolled-up Markey cuts her hair. Then, the actress removes the tape from her assistant's mouth and tells her friend not to interfere if she doesn't want to get hurt. When Markey hears Daryl upstairs, she leaves her assistant to meet him. She reminds him not to film her and to turn off the monitor. Seeing her reflection on the screen, Markey reminisces about her painstaking journey to reach her fantasy. The woman recounts how she's been treated like an object and molded into other people's fantasies while they tell her that she's the one living a fantasy. She then reminds Daryl that she wants her film to be a mystery before taking the pills to stop herself from waking up. However, Daryl rushes to the actress and strangles her instead, choosing an ending that would paint her as desirable as she truly is. As the woman struggles for breath, her dreams flash before her eyes. Suddenly, Markey wakes up in bed and finds everything in place, like on her first night. On her arm, she traces her tattoo saying, "Alone I am brave." She wanders around the empty house, now alone and free in her own little world. However, she sees one of the surveillance cameras, still filming her every move since, even after death, Markey is still a star.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.